Now, I'm going to tell you a bunch of stories and give you a number of pieces of information, and hopefully they'll click together. Now, I think the reason that this information has always been transmitted in story and image form is because it's very, very difficult to transform it into fully articulated explanation. It isn't really how it works. You know, we're not really accustomed to thinking about the idea that there are certain forms of information that are valid forms of information that can't be transmitted verbally. But of course, if you think about it, we all understand this deeply because, well, I can give you a bunch of examples. The first example is that when you speak, not only do you speak in words and phrases and sentences and paragraphs, but you also speak melodically. And in fact, part of the reason that you can understand melodies and that they make sense to you is that what artists have done is separated the melodic element of speech from the semantic element and then played with the melodic element. And the melodic element tends to carry a lot of emotion and intent. And so if you're listening to someone speak, you can tell when they're being ironic, you know, because they raise an eyebrow and their voice changes slightly, even though they might be using, in fact, they are using exactly the same words. And in fact, someone who's very good at being witty or ironic will set the situation up so that you can barely tell that they're joking. And the better they are at that, the tinier the hint they give you that you can still catch on to, the funnier the situation is. So we know that information can be transmitted through nonverbal channels. It even happens during speech. And then there's dance, of course, and dance is even more ineffable than music. And then often the dance is joined with the music, and the body is expressing what the music means. And even though you can't tell what the music means, you can tell that the dance is expressing it. And see, I think what happens there is that music represents the patterns of being. It's actually because people think of music as a non-representational art, but I think that's wrong. I think it might be the most representational art, is that being is made up of layers of patterns constantly interacting, and hopefully in a relatively harmonious way. And music demonstrates that, mimics it in some sense, abstractly, and then the dance is an abstract representation, like people adapt to the patterns of being, and the dancer adapts to the pattern of music. And so it's a symbolic, it's an embodied display of the place of the person in the cosmos.